Shalom everybody, this is your brother Joseph Israel. Just wanted to reach out to you all today on the YouTube just to say a few things about this week's Torah portion, Va-Yishlach, and it's Genesis, starts in Genesis 32 verse 4 where Yaakov or Jacob sends forth the Malachim, the messengers, as he just returns to the land of promise, to the land of Canaan, to the promised land, and he's entering there. He has to confront Esau. Before he confronts Esau, his brother, he ends up wrestling all night with an angel. So Jacob he wrestles with the angel. He wrestles all night. He refuses to let go until he receives the blessing. And in Genesis 32, verse 28, it says, "And he said unto him, What is your name?" This is the angel speaking to him. And he said, "My name is Jacob," or Yaakov. And verse 29 says, "And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob or Yaakov, but Israel, or Yisrael, or Israel. For you have striven with Elohim and with men, and has prevailed." So this is where he got the name Israel. Now there's many prophecies around this, but ultimately the name Israel has to do with striving for the blessings of the Almighty. And you see that Jacob has this capacity, this ability, this heart to not give up until he achieves the blessing. He wouldn't give it. He wouldn't let go of the angel. He wouldn't let go. He's striving for the blessing. And see, he's the grandson of Abraham. This promise of Abraham was the first one to come out of Babylon. Isaac was the seed of promise. Jacob is the one that was chosen. He got the blessing. Him and his twin brother Esau, they had a struggle. And he's about to confront Esau after 20 years. And he gets this blessing from the Malachim, from the Malach actually, this messenger, this angel of Yah, who gives him this name. So this is divine inspiration. This is prophecy. His name is no longer Jacob, but his name is Israel. So his name is no longer Jacob, but his name is Israel. Now, here in the next chapter, Genesis 30, verse 5, actually Genesis 35, verse 9, he had set up in the promised land. So now over in Genesis chapter 35, verse 10, Elohim appears to him again, and this is at the place of Bethel or Bethel, where he had the vision in Genesis 28 when he was on his way fleeing out of the promised land to go find a wife and to get away from the presence of Esau, his brother. And now he's back at Bethel, and Elohim appears to him again. And this is after he had already received the blessing from the Malach, from the angel, and with his name being changed. And it says here in verse 10, "Elohim said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And Elohim said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob or Yaakov, but Yisrael or Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel." So we see here in the book of Bereshit, in the book of Genesis, we see here that the name is mentioned so many times, the importance of the name, and the word Shem is name. And here we have these names being changed. We had Avram's name changed to Abraham or Avraham. And then we had Sarai changed to Sarah. And now we have Yaakov changed to Yisrael. This is a theme running throughout the scriptures. Now there's so much to be learned from the names. The name, as we already brought out, Israel or Yisrael means he who strives for the blessings of Elohim. Now Elohim appears to him a second time and says that your name is no longer Jacob, but it is Israel. Now verse 11 is more of a prophecy. "And Elohim said unto him, I am El Shaddai. I am El Almighty, the Almighty Mighty One. Be fruitful and multiply." Okay, so Israel was going to increase. And remember, he's in the covenant of Abraham. He's in the promises of Abraham. Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. So this is Yaakov, or Israel, or Yisrael. Be fruitful, multiply, and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. Well, what it says here in the Hebrew is as it says, he's El Shaddai, the Almighty is El Shaddai. Be fruitful and multiply, and then it says, Goy u kahal goyim. Okay, so a nation, a company of nations, literally, or a congregation of nations, an assembly of nations, because the word kahal is actually used for Israel many times. This is the congregation of Israel in the Greek. Later on, in if you read the New Testament or the Brit Hadashah, the word is way off mistranslated as church. It's actually ecclesia, and this means congregation. It called out members. This is the Hebrew word kahal, is really the root of all this, and it actually means Israel. So this is basically saying that Israel is going to be a nation, yet it's a congregation or an assembly of nations, meaning it's a nation made up of all nations or people of all nations. This is really a beautiful thing, and it says, "Kings shall come out of thy loins," even King David, Melech David, and then ultimately the Mashiach, YHWH HaMashiach, the son of David, ultimately, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, YHWH HaMashiach. He is the king that is the one the Almighty has chosen to rule over Israel forever. And it says, and the land which I gave unto Abraham and Isaac, or Avraham and Yitzhak, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. This is a promise, brothers and sisters. The land of Canaan, the promised land, was given to Yisrael. It was given to Yitzhak. It was given to Abraham. Abraham, Isaac, and Israel were given this land, and ultimately this must fulfill. And to the seed that comes after, this is the nation, the congregation of nations that's coming out of Israel. So, and coming to make up this great Israel. And remember, there's the other promises that were given, Genesis 12 or Bereshit 12, that all nations will be blessed through the seed of Abraham and through Abraham and what he did. And this was also again told to Jacob in Genesis 28. So this ultimately will bring a worldwide blessing. And right here we have in Revelation 7 verse 9, it says, it gives us more insight into this nation, the assembly of nations. It says, after this, lo, a great multitude, which no man can number, of all nations, kindreds, and peoples, and tongues, they stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and the palms of their hands. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our Elohim, and who sits upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And then it says here, later on it says, these are the ones that come through the great tribulation. They have washed their robes white with the blood of the Lamb. Verse 15 says, therefore they are before the throne of Elohim, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sits on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light upon them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and he shall lead them unto living fountains of water, and Elohim shall wipe all tears from their eyes. He will lead them to the Hayim Mayim, the living waters, ultimately the truth that leads to everlasting life. Brothers and sisters, we see here, we just read in Bereshit or Genesis, and then we took it all the way to Revelation. It's one message. So Israel is a goy, is a nation, and then a kahal goyim, a congregation of nations, peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, people of all goodwill. They're going to come together. They're going to live up to the name Israel, who strives for the blessings. This is the seed of Jacob, and this will be made up of all nations, as I just brought out, but definitely includes the literal descendants of Jacob, all of those who put Yah first, who strive for his blessings, who seek his truth. This is the heritage. This is the calling of Israel. We are living in the time of the restoration of Israel, and it's the time for the coming together for the Ephraim and Yehudah, and for all of the 12 tribes, as it says in the book of Matthew, that the Messiah will rule over the 12 tribes of Israel. We will get into this more, but ultimately let us not forget that it's to be a blessing for the whole human race, and that the meek will inherit the earth, the humble, the teachable will inherit the earth. The earth is Yah's, and the fullness thereof, and everything that dwells therein. It is his purpose, and the good news of the kingdom must be spread throughout the earth as a witness unto all nations, and then the end will come, the end of the system of things that is corrupt, but this will be the establishment of the eternal kingdom forevermore. And this is when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the prophets, and all the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the blessings come, and they get to inherit the land as an everlasting possession. No more war, no more strife, no more sorrow, sickness, death, or pain. Just living waters and blessings. Okay, so a little bit from the Torah. And this is Joseph signing off. Until I see you again, shalom, shalom. Thanks. Post your questions, comments, and most of all, let us be loving and kind to one another. And praise Yah, for He is worthy to be praised. Baruch Hashem.